I say Jolene Go, and the date is July 10th, 2012. Time is 10:10 a.m. This will be an interview with Israel Keys, case number 306 AN 15642. Present for the interview will be myself, Detective Jeff Bell, and AUSA Kevin Feldis.
Opting against the coffee. I'll start like we always do. I'll read you your rights, and then we'll go from there. All right. All right. First of all, when we came over to pick you up this morning, weren't meeting with your lawyers or anything like that in here, anything like that. You have the right to remain silent. You understand that?
Yep.
Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Do you understand that?
Yep.
You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him present with you while you're being questioned. You understand that?
Yes.
If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before and during any questioning if you wish. You understand that?
Yep.
You can decide any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. You understand that?
Yep.
You understand each of the rights I explained to you?
Yes.
Okay. And then we also have to let you know that we're here to talk about other crimes. We're not here to talk about anything with Samantha Koenig. If you do that, we're going to have to stop talking to you. Understand that? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
All right, Israel, let me just finish that kind of introductory stuff. You know Jolene's with the FBI and Jeff with APD, and I'm obviously with the U.S. Attorney's Office. You understand that?
Yep.
You have Rich Kurtner has been appointed standby counsel to represent you if you would like his help when we discuss any other crimes. You understand that?
Yeah.
Good. If you would like him here today, please tell us that, okay?
Yeah, I don't know if we can get him on short notice.
Well, you know that it's important, and the court has made it clear that if you would like him here today, we will get him here, okay?
No.
Well, I want you just to be clear with me. Would you like Rich here?
Yeah, it's complicated, but that's fine.
Okay. Sorry to go over this again. Would you like Rich Kurtner here for these discussions of other crimes or not?
No, not for the other crimes, no.
Okay. If you would like him, or if you would like Jackie or any other attorney, will you let me know?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like anyone here to help you?
No, I'm fine.
All right. Obviously, if any time during our conversation today you'd like an attorney present, you have the right just to tell us, and we'll stop asking you any questions, okay?
Yep.
All right. And that goes for anything. You obviously have the right not to tell us or talk to us at any time.
Right.
So we wanted to catch up with you at least from my perspective, where I thought we left off. And this was, I got my calendar here of the different times that we've met with you, just so I kind of keep track. And the last time was June the 7th, more than a month ago.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, how's it been going for the last 33
Slow.
days? Slow. All right.
I don't think I need to say any more than that.
Well, you got something that we agree on.
Yeah, apparently I have to show up in court just to find out anything that's going on, so.
Okay, well, if there are things that you want to talk about that relate to the Koenig case, then...
Oh, there are. That's why
let me finish my sentence. Then I think, we all know in this room, and the judge has been clear, we need to do that in the presence of your attorneys.
All right.
And if we can talk about this later today before we end. If you want to request a meeting, I will make that request known or not. It depends on what you would like. But I remember last time you had said you wanted to all meet, and all we did was simply convey that request to your attorneys. But obviously, that's up to you. I don't want to know what you and your attorneys are discussing regarding Samantha Koenig. Okay.
All right.
So let's hold on to that thought.
All right.
But let's pick up with your thought of slow.
Right.
Sort of molasses comes to mind.
Yeah.
By the way, you want a bagel?
No, I'm fine.
Sure?
Yeah.
Come on, we just got these bagels. Because I don't like to eat, without somebody else.
Gotta watch my figure.
Oh yeah, come on. They probably don't serve you these in jail.
So, no news from Vermont, I take it. I've been asking, but I haven't been getting very many answers, so.
Okay, so you want to know about the Curriers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still doing the search.
Really?
Yeah,
They should have expanded to the outskirts of the landfill by now, I would think.
well, it's a pretty slow process, a lot slower than I thought it would be initially, too, kind of on how they do it. But they're still going, and they still have the area of interest that they're looking at that they have not gotten all the way through yet.
Really?
So,
Okay.
It's just a slow, tedious process, and kind of what's happening too since the beginning. Lots of people out there, the people that have been able to show up due to trainings and vacations and things like that has reduced in numbers. So the sheer numbers of the people out there working is less than it was in the beginning. So it's a little bit slower than it was in the beginning. But they're
When are they going to call it off? Or are they?
I don't see that happening in the near future.
yeah, not in the near future.
Because it's been, 2 months, 3 months that they've been working on it?
2 months, I think.
Yeah, 6,
About 2
7
months.
weeks, yeah.
But yeah, I don't see they're not going to be calling it off anytime soon. That I've heard, at least. I think it's going to be going for a little while yet.
As long as they reasonably think they can get there, and based on stuff that they're finding with dates on it, and they're relatively sure it's just a deep pile.
Yeah. All right.
So still happening.
Yeah, and we're being honest with you. I mean, I'd love to come in here and tell you that they've been found and it's over, but the fact is it's a tedious process, and it's not like, I mean, they're digging through with pitchforks on tarps. So.
Right.
They're still within, I think we told you before about the date range of stuff. I think Steve mentioned that before. They were finding stuff within the right date range.
Yeah.
So they're still finding that stuff, which is why I think they're continuing, because they're within the right time frame. So if they weren't, then I think there might be, other discussions happening. But so still hopeful.
Just need to know if I need to change my story anytime soon. No? All right.
I think we've all talked about before that you are where you are and we are where we are, right? So
You gotta admit though, that's pretty. Sure, it's not funny to most people, but
what's
that's
The
pretty funny
chances
that,
of what happened. A lot of people would call it unfortunate.
no,
Not funny.
well, look, as we said before, whether they find those bodies or not, the
they're
crime,
still missing. Yeah.
the crime has been corroborated, every which way.
I know.
So we know it's of interest to you. Obviously, it's of interest to the families, of real interest to them, and frankly, that's why they're still looking. Is look, they understand that the families want to find the Curriers, but in terms of a legal case, prosecution, it doesn't make a difference at this point,
Right.
whether or not. So,
And that just goes to show you how determined we are, and the FBI is, in trying to bring closure to as many families as we can. Start with the Curriers.
Yeah.
but look, we left off from June 7th, and we had talked about. I brought my simple plan I wrote on June 7th. Remember, Plan A and Plan B, and we thought we were all going on, Plan A, which was to move this thing along in terms of bringing closure, which was our goal, but your goals of resolving all of their cases in a speedy way. And you had told us at that time, you understood that, you wanted things to move quickly, you wanted to keep the media down, all these things, but you needed another week. Let's talk next week. I think we ended up being a couple of weeks, and I know Jeff has been over there, and you told him, well, I need a few more days, another week, and now more than a month has gone by, and nothing has happened, and it's not because of of us. So we're looking to you today to determine whether we're going to move forward a little more quickly or whether it's going to continue to stagnate in terms of the plans we've kind of laid out.
Well, I kind of disagree. I think because I know that we can only talk about certain things when we're in this room, but to me it is all connected. And so some of it is because of you. It's just not related to the things we've talked about in this room.
Okay, like I said, it makes it hard to respond because I know we have these restrictions and for good
Right,
reasons.
exactly, and
But-
that's the problem.
Well, I told you before we leave today, we'll make it clear if you tell us, look, I want to have a meeting because there's
Right.
some issues, then I'll follow through on that. But let me just address it in terms of the other crimes, and I'm going to use New York because it's just a concrete example, right?
Right.
We know there's something in New York that we've asked you for information, and the New York thing, again, as an example, because it's another crime we're aware of, you could help us move that forward and move the whole matter forward without giving up, with very little downside to you. We're looking for a name so that we can do the things that law enforcement has to do. And we told you it wasn't going to be, we weren't going to run out and connect it to you. I think I told you, if you give us a name today, this was back a month ago, we'll meet in a week and you're not going to see your name connected to that, right? We're just going to do what law enforcement has to do, and that's going to move us forward quickly with speed.
It's going to move us forward on that case, but it doesn't move my agenda forward because I'm not getting anything concrete for it. Once I give you that name or a location, then that's it. It's your information. So
Yeah, but you want the whole thing to proceed quickly. You've told us you want the death penalty. You've told
Right.
us, yeah. So everything is all if there are 10 pieces to this puzzle, all 10 of them have to move forward. There's one that you're telling me we can't move forward on, but there's 9 others I'm telling you that we can move forward on. Right? I'm not really trying to challenge you. I'm just trying to explain to you again the way we have to work this.
no, but it only moves forward from your perspective. It doesn't move forward from mine.
No, it is yours too because they all go together. They all stick together.
They all go together if I say they go together. If I get what I want, then they all go together.
Right? But I guess what I'm saying is New York, Vermont, they're not going to go along with what you want until they get what they want, which is resolution for those other cases. So we could be moving forward towards resolution of all these other cases.
And then they're going to bounce me around from state to state. I've seen this happen. I'm not.
You may end up there because of the non-action. That's where it may end up. But if we take action together, that's what we've been telling you all along. So I wanted to see where you were on those things, given that
I'm all for moving things forward,
32
but
days.
only if I have something concrete that I get out of it. Us discussing it in this room and saying if you do this, we might be able to do this. That's not concrete, and it's not within your control.
But there was some stuff based on when Frank was in here and talked about his plans, some things that we could do to make it more concrete, to make it more definitive about who was going to handle the case or how it was going to be handled.
Right, but according to everything that I've researched since then, there's nothing concrete about that either. I mean, all you can give me is maybes. You can't give me for sures on what's going to happen with the information that I give you. I mean, we can't even say for sure that it's going to stay federal if I give information on other cases at this point.
Well, look, who's been straight with you and who's lived up to
You
that?
have. No, believe me, at this point I appreciate that a lot, but that doesn't change the fact that, like I was saying before, the only thing I have at this point is information. Once I give up that information, I don't have it anymore.
You, I think the other day you said, well, you have a whole bunch of information, right? I mean, my impression is that you have that you've given us, the stuff you've talked about with us, is 1/10 of all the things you could tell us about.
Well,
am I right about
that? For
that?
the most part, it's just been within the last year.
Yeah. So and is that one? Put a figure on it for me. A percentage. Give me a percentage, so I just have an idea. So we talk.
I don't know. That depends on what you're counting, but
Throw out a percentage. You're a smart guy.
I already told you less than a dozen. That's a pretty good percentage.
Okay. So you've told us about 1/10 of the things that you know.
Look, in the last year, a little over a year now, I did a lot of stuff. And I think I already mentioned I was kind of losing control. But, it goes back a long time. So there was a lot of stuff in the last 12, 13 months, but it goes back.
14 years, you said.
Well, yeah.
Well, that's actually good, because you had told us one time when we were talking, you had said, for 14 years was the number you used, that there was these other things. I mean, maybe if we could just sit here and chat about some of that for what happened 14 years ago. You don't even have to be specific.
What's significant about it?
Is there something significant to you for 14 years, or is that?
It's about the time you went in the military, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's significant, but I mean, again, I can't. It started out with smaller stuff. It wasn't like I went out and started taking people right away.
Did the military change it?
I didn't do anything really drastic until I was out of the military, but I mean, no, there was some stuff that happened, even before I went in the military that,
So the military
started it out. I would have been better off if I'd stayed in the military, probably.
Yeah. Well, I think you said you wanted to stay, but is that when Lainey was going to be born? Is that right?
Yeah, I found out. I was going to re-enlist, but then I found out she was on the way, so.
Yeah, so you would have liked to have stayed.
Yeah.
Was that a good experience for you?
Yeah. Overall, yeah.
And you had mentioned some buddies of yours. Do you feel like you made some good friends at that time, or?
Not really. I mean, I got close to a couple guys, but it's not like we were really good friends.
Did you keep in touch with anybody afterwards?
Just periodically, not on a regular basis.
Well, I mean, maybe we could talk about what happened before the military, if it's not as big a deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Same old story. I'm sure you've heard it or at least read about it before.
Try us.
Well, just, just escalate from one thing to another. And it was only, it was a couple of years before I went in the military that I realized I could do it and get away with it. And then after that, it just took me a few years to get up the nerve to actually do it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And those things you're talking about getting away with, you're talking about like breaking into houses, or? Because I know you talked about that once when you're taking some guns and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, when I was a kid, yeah.
So what kind of things were you talking about right before you went in the military that you could get away with?
No, there was when I was living in Oregon, I was working on this house for my dad, and there was this river that was near the house. There was a lot of people would go down there. A pretty remote area, but there were beaches and stuff along the river where people would go and hang out for the day and stuff. And that's, I don't know, that's what gave me the idea, I guess. There would be people hanging on the beaches, like younger girls in their swimsuits and stuff. And I think I was only maybe 18 at the time.
So did you get away with something there?
Yeah. Never even got reported. I mean, I didn't... Like I said, I didn't have the nerve to, take it to the next level, but... But in my mind, that's what I was going to do.
Is that a pretty remote area that you were in?
Yeah. It's called the Deschutes River. It goes into the Columbia. It's like just a little town out in the middle of nowhere. But in the summertime, there were a lot of people who would go up there from Portland and stuff. And
Yeah, I've been to that area. What's the name of the towns there?
well, the town that the house I was working on was in was Maupin. It's just downriver from Bend, I think. Yeah, Bend, Oregon.
And what did you do then? You said you thought about taking it to the next level, but you obviously did some level.
Something you got away with. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. There were these remote restrooms in these just random little beach areas along the river. And I took somebody to one of those, but I didn't kill her.
What'd you do to her?
It was one of those bathrooms where the door you could lock from the inside, and just like single restroom, and it was kind of late, so I knew nobody would be along. But I was pretty done at it. I lost my nerve. I didn't kill her, right? She was pretty scared. She was about my age, so I don't know, I guess I just decided not to. I don't know.
Not to kill her.
Yeah.
Did you sexually assault her?
Yeah, I scared her pretty bad. I mean, I don't know, I guess maybe that's why I never read anything about it.
Do you have a weapon?
Yeah, I was mostly into knives at the time, but...
How'd you get her to the bathroom? I guess I'm assuming you didn't know her.
No, I didn't know her. She was out on the river, it's like a river you can float down, like people would do it on inner tubes and stuff. And I was just hanging out at this more remote spot. She was like the last one in her group, and I just grabbed her and pulled her into the shore.
She white, black, maybe?
She was white.
About your age?
I don't know how old she was, but she could have been anywhere from I don't know, 14 to 18, I don't know.
Did you have like conversation with her and stuff? Did you know her name or anything like that?
No.
Blonde, brunette?
She was like dirty blonde.
And that didn't get reported?
I don't know. I never read anything. I was pretty freaked out afterwards. I was sure that I was going to get in trouble, or I don't know. I was just paranoid.
You didn't hear about it getting reported or anything?
No, I remember like a week after that, I kept going and checking like all the newspapers and stuff. I wasn't into computers or anything at the time, so. But I never read anything about it.
When you were 18?
Yeah, 18 or 19, I don't know.
Was that the first time you sexually assaulted somebody?
Yeah, I don't know. Depends what your definition is.
Was that the first time you had sex with somebody against their will?
No, but I mean that was the first time I took it to that level, and, like had someone tied up, you know, like was ready to actually
Kill him.
do that. Yeah.
What did that feel like?
I mean, I had it all planned out. It was, you know, that was my intention.
Was to rape her and kill her?
Yeah, it was a small bathroom. It didn't get used very much. They probably only cleaned it out maybe once a year or something, so.
Permanent type bathroom or rent-a-can type bathroom?
Like a permanent, like the ones you see at Forest Service campground with a big concrete tank under them.
So you say they only cleaned it once a year. What was that? I mean, you knew that going into it.
Yeah, I knew about them. I knew how they worked, and
What were your thoughts?
well, that's why I picked it. I was gonna, after I killed whoever, I was waiting for someone who was pretty small because I was gonna dump them down in the tank. It was a really dark tank. It's probably, I mean, they probably wouldn't have been found for a year or something. I don't know.
Did you visit that bathroom beforehand? You checked it out?
Oh yeah, I knew that whole river. We used to go down there.
So what do you think stopped you from taking it to that level?
She was just really scared and kept saying she wasn't going to tell anybody, and yeah, I don't know. I almost did. I just
Had you thought about how you were going to do it if you did it?
yeah, I was going to strangle her.
Do you remember anything that she said to you that stuck in your mind?
She just, I mean, I knew what she was doing. She was trying to make it seem like it wasn't a big deal, and like she was okay with it. And I mean, she was pretty smart. She was, I mean, because it worked. I didn't, kind of put me more at ease, and things never got really violent like they could have if she had been fighting me or something.
Did you know that then, or do you know that now in hindsight based on...
No, I
your
knew what she was
experience?
doing at the time. I knew, you know, she was... talking to me and telling me, saying, "Oh, you're a good-looking guy. Why are you, you don't have to do this. I probably would have even gone out with you," and all this stuff. And like, I just kept telling her to shut up, and she wouldn't. She wouldn't. She just kept talking to me. So I guess it kind of.
She was able to personalize it a little bit?
Huh?
She was able to personalize it or something to where you...
Yeah. I don't know. I just, I think the main thing is I just lost my nerve right at the end. Because I mean, that wasn't... I mean, that never stopped me after that. People would always talk to me, and I never...
So what do you think changed that? Is she the only person that it didn't kill after that? After something like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, she was the first one that I don't know if she had reported. Maybe she did report it. I don't know. Like I say, she wasn't fighting, so I don't know if there. And I used a condom, so I don't know if there would have been anybody would have believed her if she did. I don't know. I never heard anything about it. If I had heard about it, it definitely would have made me. For years after that, for like 2 years after that, I kept telling myself I should have killed her, and like really beat myself up about that I got.
And so that's
that
why
I chickened out and kind of felt like I screwed up.
So you didn't make that mistake again?
Well,
So, kind of.
Yeah, not on that level.
You said she was part of a group. She was the last. I thought you said she was the last one.
Yeah, there was like, I don't know, four or five of them.
Like her friends that she was with or something?
Yeah.
So was she separated from them already, or did you separate her from her
She
friends?
was, the river was pretty fast in that area. And the beach where I was it was kind of like on a dog leg of the river. So once you went around it, you couldn't really see it. It was... Her friends went around the corner, and I just jumped out of the bushes and grabbed her.
What'd you do when you finished then?
What happened to her?
I just told her to, get back on her tube and go down the river.
Let's go.
Like I said, it was pretty fast, so I'm sure her friends were wondering why she was so far behind, but...
How long do you think that she was away from her friends?
It was probably like an hour, half hour to an hour. I don't know.
I would think they would have been worried.
I'm sure they made it. It was a long river run. It was, I forget how long it took. It seems like it took... Most people, it seems like it took them maybe an hour or two to tube down if you were on an inner tube.
In other words, to the takeout.
They couldn't stop really and go back once they started.
There were only
Okay.
a couple places where you could put in at and then pull out at. So. And then there were these beaches along the way where you could stop, but not everybody did. So.
Did you ever tied up?
Yeah.
Where'd you learn how to do all the knots and all that kind of stuff?
No, it's just...
Just on your own?
Yeah. I read a lot of books.
But you would use it mostly for like rigging and stuff for your construction or working, or?
No, I started out like ropes and knots. I started out really young, like 12 or 14, I started building rafts and stuff like that. Rope bridges and all that. I used to hang out in the woods by myself, so.
How long had you planned to take somebody before you actually got up the nerve to do it?
For that one? Or?
Yeah, for that one.
Well, that was. I think I got down there in the spring, and I think that was late summer when I did it. But I had been thinking about it for years. Before that, I just never actually thought I would do it. And then once I left the area where I grew up and was in a new area, it seemed a lot more feasible just because it was, like nobody knew me. It was all strangers and everybody was really friendly. And it just was like one of those situations where I just knew it would be really easy.
She saw your face and you didn't wear any disguise.
It was, no, I wasn't disguised. I was in my swimsuit.
Did you have to drive there, or was it close enough to where you were hiking there, or what?
No, that one was, I think there was access to it, but I think there was a gate. I think I had to park up on the road and then walk down to the beach. To get down by the river, I think.
So back then, did you develop some type of kit where you had rope and?
Oh yeah, I had all the stuff with me. I think it was. I think it was one of those beaches where they lock the gates at dusk or in the afternoon or something, and so my plan originally was, to stay there all night because I knew nobody would be going down, like driving down to that beach. Anybody who would be going by would just be on the river, and that was usually by the time it was getting dark. There were only a few groups going by on the river. It was usually thinned out by then. So.
Is that when you'd say you started feeling a little bit empowered, getting away with that? Did you start?
Well, I wasn't sure at all that I got away with it. I was pretty paranoid about it for a long time.
Did you do anything in that one that, other than what you've already told us and how it ended, that you learned from that you didn't want to do again? Or mistakes that you made?
Well, I didn't make any mistakes per se, but in my mind it didn't go all the way I was planning, so.
Because of the ending?
Yeah, just let her live.
Yeah, and just because I didn't ever feel like I was really in control on that one. I guess I was too timid, like I wasn't violent enough or something, because she didn't.
She wasn't as afraid of you as you?
Yeah, she was, kind of pissed me off actually later, like thinking about it, that I let her get to me, kind of pissed me off.
Did you become more violent then?
Well, no, not unless I had to be, but if I just made up my mind that was never going to happen again.
Was she frightened?
Oh yeah, she was.
Can you tell us what you did to her? You raped her?
Yeah, I had her tied up. There were was like one of those handicap accessible bathrooms that had the bars along the walls, and I had her tied to those.
How was she tied?
I had once around her neck to one of the bars, and then I had her arms tied out so she couldn't move really. Kind of over the. It had. I mean, it was like I say. It was just a remote bathroom. There wasn't running water or anything. There was just like an outhouse basically. I had like the lid of the outhouse closed, and I had her tied over that, like, on her stomach.
So she was facing forward on her stomach?
Yeah. But she. I mean, I was pretty young, and I mean, I'm sure she could tell I was fairly young, and so I think that's why she didn't take it maybe as seriously. I don't know. It was weird. It's still weird when I think about it.
What was so weird about it?
Just her reaction to everything was weird.
What was her reaction?
I think maybe she had either had something like that happen or had thought about what she would do. Or she just didn't seem like everybody else I took always seemed completely surprised, like they didn't expect it, like they had never even thought of a scenario like what they were in. And with her, it didn't seem like that. It seemed like she kind of knew what to say and stuff. And so, I mean, she was scared, but I think in a lot of ways she was more calm about it than I was, because I was, I had a lot of adrenaline at the time. And, yeah, so after she just kept talking the whole time, like even afterward, just like it kind of talking like trying to reason with me, but also just talking. So it's like about random stuff. I don't know. It was weird.
Still trying to be your friend, or at least
Just
stay on the good side.
Yeah. It's like I remember she even asked me like weird stuff if I lived around there. Not like she was questioning me, just trying to be friendly or something. I don't know.
Back then, after you did this, did you go out? Did you feel the need to do anything else, like
No, I was
houses or banks?
Oh. Well. Armed robberies. Most days that's better. Especially if it's like a small town. Remember the first one I did, I was freaked out. And but then once I got in there and actually was doing it, I remember one of the ladies at the counter, she was about the same age as my mom, and just the look on her face, I was like, I still think about that.
She couldn't believe it.
Not just that, but she was just terrified, you know. It's like, and I hadn't really done anything. It wasn't even like it wasn't that crazy of a robbery. It was just.
Where was that at?
That was a long time ago.
When was that?
I'm always surprised that as much stuff of that as I've done, it always crossed my mind that at some point somebody's going to have a gun. And I knew that like the whole time, and for some reason, like I kept telling myself, I was like, you really need to get a bulletproof vest because one of these days somebody's going to have a gun. I just never did. I don't know.
Did anyone ever pull a gun on you?
No.
So how old were you with the first armed robbery?
I don't remember.
Was it before this incident or after? Or in Oregon?
Yeah, it was in Washington.
So when you moved to Washington? It was after you moved to Washington?
No, it was before I moved to Oregon.
But it was in Washington.
Was it a store or a bank? Sounds like a store.
Yeah, it was just a
Do you remember? Do you remember the name?
No.
Do you remember why did you do that?
I don't know.
Was it for money then, or still?
Well, it was for money, but
Do you remember how much money you got?
no, it wasn't very much.
What was the name of the girl that you raped?
I have no idea.
She didn't tell you her name. You didn't ask her.
Oh, she told me her first name was Leah. But
Say it again.
Leah, I think.
Leah.
Or Lena.
Lena.
Something else. Yeah, but she didn't tell me her last name. I didn't ask.
Did she tell you anything else about her?
I don't know if that was. No, she was mostly just, asking me questions and stuff.
When you were raping her, did you hurt her in any other way?
I had her tied up pretty tight, but I don't know if. I imagine she had some bruises or something on her wrist, but at the time, it was dark. I don't think. It wasn't anything real obvious. It's not like I hit her or anything.
You didn't cut her at all with a knife?
No.
And how did you rape her?
I just raped her once. It wasn't anything real crazy. It didn't last very long.
Vaginally?
Yeah.
Did you ever see her after that?
Mm-mm.
Did you ever go back to the river?
Yeah. Yeah, we used to go down there every day.
Did you go with other people?
Well, I would go down with my family when they were there. You know, that's how I knew all these different areas along the river. And I would get up and work on the house in the morning, work from about 5 to 12 or so. It would get really hot there, get above 100 in the afternoon, so we'd go down to the river. Then once it cooled off in the evenings, I'd go back and work on the house some more.
Did you ever go back to this exact spot where the restroom was?
No. Oh, I went back the next day because I was paranoid. I thought maybe I left. First, I drove by a couple times because I thought there might be police there, and but there were several spots like that along the river. I don't know. 20/20 hindsight, she might not have even been able to tell which spot it was.
Because it was dark, kind of dark.
Yeah, it was, and there weren't really any landmarks, and no signs or anything. But yeah, I went back the next day and I finally stopped and just went into the bathroom to make sure, because I was thinking I had dropped something or left something there and I couldn't remember.
And then did you go in the military soon after that, or?
Yeah, it was a couple of years after that.
But you weren't joining the military to get out of that area or anything?
No. No, I finished that house and
You said this was your parents' house?
yeah, my dad, he sold our farm in eastern Washington, and he bought this little fixer-upper in that tiny little town, Maupin, and me and one of my buddies that I had been working with put a big addition on it and turned it into this big house and stuff.
Maybe we've talked about this before. You didn't have any formal training in that. How did you get so handy with building and?
Well, I worked for about a year and a half in eastern Washington on a construction crew. That's how I got started out in it. But
And doing everything from framing to finish, or?
mostly framing, but yeah, that was mostly framing up till that point. But then when I was in Oregon, that was the first house I did the electrical on. Like, I did all the wiring, and it all had to pass inspection and stuff. So that's just the way I would learn to do stuff, just by doing it.
And did your parents live in that house?
No, none of us ever lived in that house. It was brand new. Once we were done, it was like new, and my dad put it on the market. It didn't sell, so I think he had to rent it for a while, and then it finally sold, and that's when he bought the property in Maine. But in the meantime, we had gone back to upstate New York. That's where I lived for about a year.
So how long did you spend in Oregon total?
It was less than a year, I think.
And while you were living there, were you living in that house or someplace else?
No, I was living in a camper I built on the back of my truck.
And were your parents living there?
No, my parents were. They had a trailer that they were staying in. They were working for a food company down there.
In Oregon?
Yeah, like a wholesale foods company, and so they would come over on their days off and help us with the house. But for the most part, it was just me and my buddy that stayed there at the house. And
Who was your buddy?
his name was Eric Robertson.
Eric Robertson.
Yeah.
Did you ever keep in touch with him?
Yeah, he still calls me sometimes. He had a really bad accident a few years ago. He's not really what he used to be.
Is he still in Oregon?
No, I think he lives in Idaho or Colorado now. He had some pretty major head trauma.
From an accident?
Yeah, he ran into a tree on a snowmobile. So
Where did that happen?
I think that happened in Colorado. That was years ago, but ever since that happened, he's been keeping in touch with me and stuff. He just changed a lot after the accident. He used to have his own construction business and do all these fancy houses in Colorado, and then he had that accident and just kind of dropped off the radar.
He's your age?
Yeah, he might be a year or two older than me.
When was the last time you spoke to him?
It probably would have been a couple weeks before I got arrested. He probably called me. He was calling me pretty regularly over the last couple of years.
So after you raped the girl there on the river, you said you were pretty nervous about getting caught.
Yeah.
How long was it between that incident and when you next got up the nerve to do another crime?
I didn't do anything really bad when I was in the Army. It kind of balanced me out and gave me something else to focus on, I guess. Not so much free time.
How about before you got in the Army, between when you raped this girl and when you got in the Army?
No, there wasn't anything major. I think well, yeah, there wasn't.
What are you thinking of?
No, there was like a couple. Actually, it wasn't in New York, but it was. There were a few things that happened, but nothing major, no.
Well, what are you thinking of?
Huh?
What are you thinking of?
What's major to you?
Well, like I said, no, that was major. Like, to me at the time, that was a big deal. Like, the whole thing that happened on the Deschutes, that was a big deal, and so I was really paranoid after that. I was convinced that. I don't remember if I was worried about DNA at the time, but I was convinced that there was like some big investigation trying to find out who had done this. When in reality, like 20/20 hindsight now, I don't know. Maybe she never even told anybody. I don't know.
But what made this one different? You said that prior to this, she wasn't the first person that you'd raped, or at least had sex with that wasn't a willing participant. What made this one? Because you tied her up and it was.
Well, because I was going to kill her.
So how about before that?
And she knew I was going to kill her.
So before that, the people that you raped didn't think they were going to get killed. It was just they knew it was just a rape. How would they know that?
There was never anything on that level. Up until that point.
And what were you just thinking of about New York?
Oh, there was. I didn't live in New York for very long, but I can remember. Before I got in the Army, I would go up to Montreal sometimes. It wasn't nothing major though. No, I mean nothing like that. I was out looking for trouble, but I didn't get into it. I mean, didn't get caught.
What kind of trouble would you get away with in Montreal?
Oh, there were a few strip clubs that I would go to, and just like bad parts of town up there and stuff. I mean, you can find a lot of trouble in Montreal if you're looking for the right places. And I was I don't even think I was 20 at the time, and I almost got in some bad situations up there. It kind of freaked me out, and
with prostitutes or with...
Yeah, just, like typical being in the bad part of town, bad hotels kind of thing,
Like, because you didn't look like you fit in them, you became a target, or what made you?
just because I was young and I had a gun with me, so I thought that made me invincible. But then I realized, like Canada, that's actually a bad thing. If you show a gun, then all of a sudden everybody, it's not nearly as, it's a lot bigger deal than if you show a gun down here.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I didn't take a gun to Canada anymore.
Did you go there with the intention of doing something?
I went there with the intention of getting in trouble. I wasn't. It's not like I had anywhere staked out. I wasn't gonna. I was mostly there looking for, prostitutes and stuff.
With the idea of killing anybody, or just
No.
having sex with them?
Well, no, I didn't. I mean, I had stuff with me, but I don't think I would have done anything. It was just like. Yeah, I don't think I would have.
What kind of stuff?
Just my stuff, like knives and ropes and stuff like that. The usual.
Well, at some point in time, we went from ropes to cable ties with the Currier.
Yeah, cable ties were. I thought they were a good invention. Turns out ropes are better.
So you talked about this Leah or this girl on the shoots. How old were you when you first raped somebody? Do you think this was, you said 18 or 19 with this girl? How long ago?
No, that was the first person I raped. I mean, technically, stranger rape type thing.
But you didn't. No, you didn't kill her, right?
No, I didn't kill her.
When was the first time? How old were you when you first killed somebody?
You're trying to nail down dates again, aren't you?
I'm trying to figure you out a little bit because you said that you told me that when you look back on it, you thought you should have killed this girl.
I should have, yeah.
That's her. That's what you said.
And so you did learn something from that. You wish you had killed her, and so after her, you never let anybody go, correct?
No, there was.
So I'm trying to figure out how old you were. I mean, here you were 18 at that time. Because that's a big step, I would imagine, right? I mean, that was a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I was convinced that I had it all figured out at the time. I was into a lot of weird stuff back then. I thought I was a Satanist and stuff, and had a lot different philosophy than I do now. So
When you were 18?
yeah. So I thought I had a lot of stuff figured out, and then, when it actually came time to do it, at the time, it was just, I just couldn't follow through with it on my part, and, for the next 4 years after that, I would think about it, and, changed my philosophy changed on why I wanted to do it and stuff.
How did that change?
Yeah. From what to what?
Well, at the time, I thought that I was just into that whole Satanist symbolism type stuff, and I thought that was the reason I was doing it, and then over the next few years, I realized that I didn't really even believe in that stuff. I just at the time I was just using that justification or a reason or something. That wasn't really the reason I wanted to do it. It was just because I wanted to do it. And then, so once I kind of came to terms with that there wasn't a higher power, if you will, that I was going to do it for. It was just something I wanted to do. That made it a lot easier.
So you weren't doing it for the devil or Satan or...
That's what but at the time, that stuff meant a lot to me, or I thought it did. I was just really pissed off in general at the time. Like the whole religious upbringing, typical teenage anger issues, whatever. But nobody ever saw that side of me, everybody. That's why I did things like that, because it would just, not like I had a temper, I would blow up at people, but it was still there. It would come out when I did those kind of things, when I did robberies or burglaries and stuff. I knew I wasn't going to get caught for it, I just burn things, break things.
How'd you know you weren't going to get caught for it? You just felt that way based on your planning? You seem pretty good at those things. I mean, is that...
I just read a lot of crime books.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so after you didn't kill the girl in the river, you said something changed. So you realized you were not doing it for some...
Yeah, I just realized I didn't really believe in that stuff.
Obviously after the brandings.
That was, yeah.
Well, let's talk about that in a second, but what was I want to understand your change in your thinking.
At the time I was going from, like I say, a really religious upbringing to becoming an atheist. Once you become an atheist, you can't really be a Satanist. So, kind of a progression of thinking, logical thought, I guess. I never really, like I say, I wanted to believe in it. I tried really hard. I thought that if I, did all the things that these books said and, did all the right rituals or whatever, that I would get some kind of confirmation that there was Satan or that I was doing something special. But the more I read about it, the less convinced I became.
So you never had that happen?
I never did that, no. But like that girl was... That's why, like I say, I probably would have choked her just because I was afraid of getting caught. But I had like all the knives and stuff with me.
To do what?
Well, you can't, like all the rituals that I was reading at the time, it's like bloodletting and stuff. It's not, you don't strangle people.
Did you talk to her about that and what you were going to do, or talk to her about the satanic piece?
No. Honestly, once it actually started, all that stuff, I still had it in my mind, but all that just kind of went on the back burner because there were a lot of other issues that I had to deal with, and but.
So when you were raping her, you realized that it wasn't about Satan; it was just about the rape.
Well, that was the main reason I took her. It wasn't. I was into all that stuff at the time, but if it hadn't been for my intentions to rape her, then I would never have taken someone. I would never take someone just to kill him for some ritual. There was a time when I definitely would have done that in addition to, but not for the sole purpose of. I just never was that devout, I guess.
So you weren't going to take someone just to kill them for some sacrificial thing?
No.
And so,
That was just an idea I had, like an extra or bonus or whatever.
what was the extra bonus?
The rituals stuff.
So what changed between the incident on the river and when you finally got up the nerve to kill somebody?
There's just a lot of stuff that happened when I was in the Army that changed my perspective on things. Yeah, just seeing, like I say, we went to Egypt and just completely, having never been outside of the United States up until that point, it just really changed my perspective on the big picture and made me realize that, if that was what I wanted to do, then I should just do it.
If you wanted to kill somebody?
Yeah. Because it wasn't. Because all the stuff I had been so concerned about before didn't really matter that much. It was, I guess you could say I just kind of came to terms with myself for the reasons why I wanted to do it. There was a girl that I met in, I think it was when I was in Tel Aviv. She was pretty young. She was a student. She was Turkish, but I think she was from Yeah, she was a Norwegian exchange student or something. And I wouldn't say that was like an outright rape because she, we were hanging out and stuff, and she allowed herself to be, like, I don't know, it was in her room. She told me where her room was and stuff. And I was gonna, I almost, I did lose control a little bit as things progressed, and that's when I realized, like, that if I was going to do that kind of stuff, it had to just be complete strangers from then on. It couldn't be anyone who knew me or who had seen me around the person, or it shouldn't even, like, the whole thing that happened in Oregon freaked me out because I could almost see the beach from where I worked every day, and it was just too close to home, and I just realized that if I kept doing stuff like that, it was only a matter of time before I got caught, and so that's when I don't know, after that happened in Tel Aviv, I just got really careful and decided, for one thing, that I wasn't going to do anything when I was in the Army, because they always had tabs on me. They always knew where I was, and they always knew, like, my buddies were, if we were in Tel Aviv or Eilat or somewhere in Israel, my buddies were usually just right around the corner, and then it was pretty much the same thing when I was in Washington. When I was stationed in Washington, I had my own truck and stuff, and I would go to Eastern Washington sometimes, but for the most part, they always knew where I was, and I just realized I had to kind of chill out and not do anything. Plus, I had knives and stuff, but all my guns I kept stored off base because you weren't supposed to have guns in your room when I was in the Army. So. So yeah, I don't know. For the most part, when I was in the Army, I got in less trouble when I was in the Army than pretty much any other time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it didn't take long after I got out. It was like almost. There were a few months. I had a DUI when I was in the Army right before I got out, so there were a few months there where I was trying not to drive because I didn't want to get busted again for driving on a suspended license, and I was on unemployment, so I just spent a lot of time sitting around, and you know, that's always what would start it up for me.
What, just sitting around?
Just sitting around and reading stuff. Or
what kind of stuff were you reading?
Just, you know, that kind of thing. Like serial killer stuff and slasher movies and all that stuff that I'd always been into, but when I sit around and do it, and it's,
What happens?
it just gets to where I just get really restless and feel like I have to do something.
So how long?
Hence the branding.
The
branding works for a while.
How long until you got out of the Army? How long after that did you last?
Oh, not very long. For the most part, I was pretty good though, because Lainey was born just a few months after I got out. So. And then I got another job, and that kept me stable most of the time. But
That's the one at Nia Bay?
yeah.
So when did the brandings happen?
I started doing that when I was in the Army, but I think the last one I did maybe 5 or 6 years, 7 years ago. I don't know.
Which one was your first one?
I think it was the one on my neck, on the back of my neck. The pentagram.
Okay.
Obviously somebody else did that.
Yeah, I forget, one of the guys in my squad did that when I was in Egypt, I think.
Did he wonder why you were getting that on your neck? I mean, was there?
They all knew I had issues. That's why I wasn't really close with any of them, really. There was only one other guy. He had serious issues, too. And
Who was that?
his name was Perkins. But we would stay up and... I mean, we had different kinds of issues, but they were similar.
So what kind of stuff did the other guys in that? What kind of issues would they see that they?
They just knew I had psychosocial issues, I guess. I don't know what you would call it. There was that, like I say, there was that time we went to Tel Aviv when I was in Egypt, and they saw some of the stuff I did when I was.
For instance?
Well, they knew that there was a prostitute in Tel Aviv. She, I didn't let her out of the room for a while, and she tried to kick me when I finally decided to let her out, and my buddies got really mad at me and got all freaked out because she was employed by the Russian mob over there, and they had been calling her phone the whole time, and I guess they were banging on all my buddies' doors trying to find out which room she was in, and they got really pissed off at me because, you know, because those guys were serious. They were like these two really big guys who were looking for her, and she was pissed off at me for other reasons. So. Yeah, so they knew I had issues. And yeah, and then when the branding and stuff started, I got, like threatened with write-ups and stuff because some of the COs found out about it. For the most part, I was like a model soldier, just not stuff that I would do when we were in our off time. Like Egypt is, I thought I could get away with it over there because, I did. I got away with it, but there were some close calls, like I say, where things could have got really out of hand really quick. And so, when we got back to Washington, a lot of the guys in my squad didn't want to hang out with me if it was like in a social situation because they didn't know what to expect. And yeah, they just thought I was weird. That was the main thing.
What brand came after that one, after the one on your neck?
Probably the one on my arm, the IZ.
Did you do that one yourself?
Yeah, most of them I did myself. I think I had to have the one on my back done a couple times to get it to stick.
Which one's on your back?
The pentagram.
Okay.
But yeah, the rest of them I mostly did myself.
With a cigar? Or?
No, with a coat hanger.
You have an upside down cross, right?
Yeah.
Is that one that you did yourself too?
Yeah, that was one of the last ones I did, I think.
How long ago was that?
Maybe 7 or 8 years ago.
So what was the meaning, because that's after you're out of all the satanic stuff and all that, so what was the meaning of that one for you?
Well, I considered myself an atheist for a long time, but that doesn't mean, I still have issues with it, so.
So more about atheism than
Yeah.
satanic stuff. Okay.
So going back to when you got out of the Army, Laney is born and you're living in Nia Bay. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you said you had a lot of downtime and you had been kind of holding back on the stuff that you were thinking about doing. What set that free? What made it kind of go to the step where you were to act?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to talk about that yet.
There was something? An event? Or
there was stuff that happened when I was in Nia Bay, yeah. I just don't know if I want to give the whole timeline on it right now.
Well, don't give me the timeline. I'm just the thought process, or what made it change. Or...
Well, it like I say, I got out of the Army and anytime I'd get to where I had downtime, or if I would leave Nia Bay, get out of Nia Bay.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff was still there, and like every time I'd make a drive somewhere, I'd be looking for places, good places to do stuff. So at that point, I just knew, I just accepted it was only a matter of time and opportunity before I did something again. I just had decided by then that I wasn't going to do anything quite as compulsive, I guess. I decided to plan it out a little better or something.
Well, it seems like even from when you were in Oregon, you planned out taking that girl. That's pretty well planned.
Yeah, it was, but it was mostly just the situation that worked out, because I hadn't even lived there very long when I did that.
You didn't know the area very well.
yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect or anything. My thought process had always been that if there's not a body, then, just like, if there's not a body and not any witnesses, then, there's a big search or whatever sometimes, but if the person's not connected to me, then I probably won't ever even be questioned about it or whatever, so.
Mm-hmm. And did that work? That's the way it worked, right?
Well, yeah. I was just convinced that I had screwed up that time in Oregon because, I let her go.
Up until the time you were arrested in Texas, had you ever been questioned before about any of the murders that you committed?
No.
No one ever stopped you? Questioned you? How about any rapes? Anybody ever questioned you about any of?
No.
How about any other crimes you committed? Were you ever questioned?
No. Well, I mean, there was like really minor stuff that happened when I was a teenager when I was breaking into houses, but not.
Right. You told us the other day that you could tell, because you knew you didn't want to get caught. How would you identify a victim so that you would, try to decrease the chances that you would be caught?
Well, back when I was smart, I would do it. I would let them come to me.
I don't understand.
Just remote area. Not.
Kind of
you
like
go to a remote area that's not anywhere near where you live, but that other people go to as well. You might not get exactly there's not as much to choose from in a manner of speaking, but there's also no witnesses really. There's nobody else around, so. And then when they disappear, a lot of times nobody's really surprised because it happens all the time.
See, that's the part I'm trying to...
Marathon runner.
The Mount Marathon guy?
But what I'm trying to figure out is, but if somebody's camping in a remote spot, someone's going to know that they didn't come home.
Right.
So did you have other things you looked for in a victim?
No, it was, it's just... You asking what type of people I would pick, or?
Yeah, what type, or whether there was a way...
I didn't really have a type.
Okay.
I had preference, but that it wasn't...
What's the preference?
Well... lightweight.
Is that because of attraction or because of disposal?
Yeah, it's kind of makes it easier.
Okay.
But, it's not. It's not a deal breaker. No, I don't know. I just... like I say, when the Curriers, that was... Well, no, there were a couple other times, but I don't know. There are places where it always surprises me, like some situations you read about in the paper, like so-and-so disappeared, presumed boating accident, for example. They find their boat. You don't know what really happened to that person. I'm not the only person who figured this out.
Do you think there's a lot of people like you out there?
No, but I don't think it takes a lot, you know. And like I say, if you're not picky, if you can control your... If I had been able to control myself, then, you know, who knows, you know, how long it would have gone on for. I don't know.
Are you telling us that there's bodies that have been found that were accidental deaths that ruled like that or that look like that? Is that what you're telling us?
Well, maybe one, but for the most part, for me, no. I'm just saying, as an example,
Someone might say, oh, it looks like a boating accident, but you knew.
boating accident,
Fire.
hiker disappears,
Fire.
fires.
So on one instance where you killed somebody, it appeared in the news as if it were an accident. So that's got to be kind of empowering.
But right. I never took that for granted though, because I've known for a long time, because of the things that I've done that have been in the news. I've known that, like, what you read that happened and what I know that actually happened, sometimes it's almost not even recognizable, really. So I never took it for granted. I always assumed that if a body was found, that somebody was going to be after me for it. I was always prepared for that, and I always thought I had alibis and stuff. Like, that was always in the back of my mind. Kind of hard to keep track of after a while, but, you know.
But you anticipated if they found the body, here's what my story's going to be.
Right.
Were there any close calls where they found a body and you were prepared for that?
Well, like I say, I don't know if it was a close call. I don't know. I know that what was made public, it never seemed like it was close to me.
But when the body recovered and you were worried they were going to come and ask questions about it.
Yeah.
Was that only one time?
Yeah.
Did you consider that a mistake on your part somehow,
No.
that the body was recovered?
Well, I don't.
Back then.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a mistake. I mean,
What happened? Were you rushed? Did you not do something the way you planned?
no, I was. It was kind of the same situation as the Curriers. I just wasn't in a position to get rid of it right away, and so I decided to try and make it look. I mean, it was already going to be assumed that it was an accident and of some sort, and my concern was that the body would be found before it had decomposed enough. But
How long ago was that?
that was a while ago.
But the body. So wait, I don't get that. Your concern was the body wouldn't have been decomposed enough. That makes it sound like you went back, or.
No, I'm just saying if it had been found right away, it probably wouldn't have been thought to be an accident anymore.
Oh, okay. I read a story once about an elderly couple that, but I think it was like an arson or something like that, where to like try to cover up the bodies. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
Not specifically, but no, I know what you're saying.
Where they were probably killed, but they recovered the bodies in the house fire. And, on inspection, they think they're probably dead before the fire too. So.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
No, you can get around that. Like,
Get around that? How so?
oh, just the whole. I know what you're saying. Like the people try to use fires to cover up murder, but
Right.
if you don't plan it out right, it doesn't work.
Yeah, usually they can tell that they were dead.
Right, because the body's not going to burn up all the way, so you have to make sure that whoever's in the fire has to still be breathing when the fire is going on, or else it doesn't work.
So that the smoke kills them or something like that.
Right.
So, but you were talking about a body that wasn't going to be decomposed enough. That's what I'm not understanding.
Right. Yeah, because I wasn't planning on going back and getting rid of it. I was just hoping that. I thought it would be found. I just was hoping it would be enough time that they wouldn't be able to figure out that it wasn't natural causes kind of death.
So, like, you're talking about somebody just found in a house that wouldn't be missed for a really long time, something like that.
No. That's a good idea, though. It's kind of hard to figure out.
Well, like the Curriers, if that house had remained standing for, 10 years or something, and then somebody went 10 years later, there wouldn't be much to find. Is that what you're...
No, in that case, I was planning to go back.
Right. But the other case you're talking about, you were not planning on going.
Right.
But you thought enough time would pass that the bodies would decompose.
Enough. Yeah.
Were you worried that evidence of sexual assault or the method of death was going to be discovered if they...
Just, yeah, method of death.
Mm-hmm. So in that case, the bodies were found.
Body...
Yeah, the body was.
Body was found.
Yeah.
But nobody ever suspected foul play.
I don't know.
But it was enough time that you were...
I wasn't too worried about it.
How long?
I was concerned about it. I wasn't.
How long was it between the time that you left the body and the time it was discovered?
I don't remember exactly what the date, because I didn't read about it till quite a bit later. I kind of read about it after the fact. So I don't know what date it was actually found. But it was... I remember thinking at the time I wasn't that worried. I was kind of concerned, but I wasn't that worried. I was never worried. Like, even with this dumb stuff I was doing, I was never worried. I was always... Like I say, I was concerned. I would try and figure out like what to do in case of worst case scenario kind of thing. But I wasn't. It's not like I was obsessed with it. Or
Well, when this body was found, was there a plan that you had to put in place, or you just said, stay cool, see what happens?
with stuff like that, I was mostly worried about being talked to about it, just as not as a suspect, just being talked to about it, period.
Anyone just saying, hey, did you read about this?
No, like anyone in law enforcement.
Oh, okay.
Like if someone had seen my license plate in the area or whatever.
Like, oh, we saw your truck.
Right.
In the
I was,
area.
because I get nervous talking to normal people, so I figured if I was ever put in an interview room or even just interviewed person to person, I didn't think I could pull it off. Like if I knew something, I was pretty sure that anyone who was asking me about it was going to notice something. So that was my main concern, always to make sure it never got to that point.
Have you found the police in different parts of the country to be better or worse, or are you more concerned about?
Well, it got a lot better in the last few years.
This person, how did they die?
Yeah, I don't want to.
Well, there's no bullets, I take it.
Well,
No.
Well, and there's obviously no evidence of that. So I don't know that you'd be giving away a big secret if they discovered this body and they thought it was an accident.
No, I know.
Well, it wouldn't have been an accident. You're thinking just natural causes. Someone found this person must have died and no one found them. Something like that. An older person dies in their bed, something like that. That's what I think you're talking about. If somebody who, if they're not going to suspect foul play, they probably think, well, they had a heart attack, they're old, and we found them a year later.
Or they think he was climbing Mount Marathon and
Well, that's what I'm
Fell down.
I don't know. You tell me.
they found this hiker's body at the bottom of a canyon.
You tell me.
Yeah, that's definitely the smarter way to do it. Anyway, I'm sure we'll talk about it at length eventually.
Great. But that, going back to what we were talking about earlier, so that was not, this person whose body was found, that's not the first time you killed somebody. This is just, we're talking about something different.
Well, I'm not going to give you a context, but no, it was a while ago.
But not the first.
No.
How did you identify the target for the first person that you've been kind of working up to? How did you identify who that was going to be? Was it one of these where you go out and wait for somebody?
Yeah, well, yeah. Not really wait, but, if you know an area, you can pretty much plan on who you're going to run into and what type of people and stuff.
That you're not going to have to wait too long for.
Right.
And this time Lainey was young, so how did you get away from the house for long periods of time?
Oh, I could always think of some excuse. I, at the time, still had ties in Eastern Washington, so it was pretty easy to say, I'm just going to go over to Eastern Washington, check on the old place, go see so-and-so.
And when you say ties, did you have family living there or friends?
Friends.
So go and visit so-and-so.
Right.
And be gone for a few days.
Military friends or?
No, like childhood friends.
How far is it from Nia Bay to the parts of Eastern Washington that you had friends?
Well, it's about as far as you can go in Washington and still be in the state.
How long does it take to drive then?
At least 9 hours, maybe 12.
Do you like to drive?
Yeah.
So what was it like to cross that line, to actually following through the plan to kill somebody?
It went a lot better the second time. First.
The second time you
What
killed
was-
somebody?
What was the first time? What went wrong with the first time?
No, I'm just saying, like, from that incident that happened on the river to when I actually did it the second time I had someone actually tied up and stuff there.
Mm-hmm. Was it a restroom like the first time or something?
No.
Campsite, woods.
I had it. I had already had the area picked out, but as far as I had a lot of areas picked out, I just had it set in my mind how it was going to happen, and I was determined that's the way it was going to happen that time. And once I didn't really matter where. Like I say, I had several areas. It was kind of one of those things where first time the opportunity came up.
You were driving around, or were you camped out somewhere?
Well, I guess you'd say I was going through several different areas kind of thing.
Did it go to plan then?
Yeah.
And you were the first time you were gonna strangle the girl. Is that what you did the second time? Did you strangle her?
Yeah.
Were there any, did you have a knife or a gun?
Yeah.
Did you use the knife or the gun?
No.
And it seems like you talked about tying the woman up. Did you tie this woman up?
Yeah, they were tied.
Was it one person?
No, I'm just pointing out I never said it was a woman.
Oh. The person was tied up.
Yeah.
Does that mean it was a man, or are you just...
No, I'm just
Not
pointing out.
Not willing to commit one way or the other?
We're not going to catch you that easy, right?
Oh, you already caught me. I already told you. We'll talk about it.
I'm just trying to move the ball forward and not
I know.
spend another 30 days with my plan A and plan B, so I come back to it. I say, look, Israel, look at this. This is where we are. I'm 32 days.
Come on now. There should be more on that paper than that.
This is all I got from the time I met with you on June
Yeah, that's
7th.
true.
June 7th.
Last month there hasn't been much.
And what's today's date? The
10th of July.
10th. So we got 33 days have gone by. And this is all I've had on this paper. So, will you give me something that I can work with other folks with, something specific that I can at least buy us another 30 days, right? You know, I don't know. We're going to be here 30 days from now.
What happens in 30 days?
I don't know.
What happened in the last 30?
I guess a lot could happen in the next 30 days. Some of which, you know.
Well, like I say, I want to be able to put some other things on the table, but I can't put them on the table at this meeting, obviously. So.
Right. No, I know there's stuff you want to talk about with your active case that we're going to talk about now, but I'm talking about moving the ball forward as a whole in the context of the Curriers or New York or Washington.
I don't. Like I say, you already got me on the Curriers. I don't know what else I can tell you about that. As far as New York, I'm not going to give any more information on that or anything else until as far as names or anything that is going to be like a we gotcha confession until I get something.
I'm not looking for the we gotcha already, right? You said that. I'm looking for literally doing what we said we needed to do was clear up these cases. That there's not like a gotcha moment. It's a okay, now we know the scope of what we're talking about. I mean, you can think about it as just stuff you know law enforcement has to do. It's not a you gotcha stuff.
No, I know you have to do it, but
it takes.
Frankly, this stuff has been out there a while, so.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't get the idea that you're afraid to talk about it.
No, I'm not. I
So
just,
don't get it.
like I say, I only have so many things in my bag of tricks, and once they're gone, they're gone. So.
And we understand you correctly still, that we're still on the same page and that you have every intention eventually of
Yeah.
giving us this information so that we can...
Well, yeah, I just, I have to get what I need to get out of it, though.
I understand that. I just want to make sure we're still on the same page and you're still...
Yeah, I
haven't
don't-
changed your opinion
yeah.
on that.
Yeah. Well, if we've gone back to where we were before, if we've gotten 1/10 of the story or 1/15 of the story, however we want to.
You've got a lot of the story now. You just don't have dates and names, honestly. I mean, I can give you dates and names, and approximate dates anyway. And-
But we haven't gotten that for 10 other people, and I know you don't seem afraid to talk about it, and you want to move things forward. So
Right.
even if you were to tell us one name a month, we'd still be here 10 months from now.
Well,
A lot
no,
of work
that's
to
not
do.
what I'm looking for, though. I'm not looking to spread it out. I'm looking to get what I want out of it, and once I
But-
get what I want, then I don't really care.
I
how
think
long
you've
it
said
takes.
you said before you think we all want the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So what is it that you're trying to bargain with us about? I'm trying to figure it out.
Well,
Right, what
like
do you
I
want
said-
us to give you?
No, that's like I say. It's hard to talk about all of it now, but one of the things I have concerns with is that I might be talking to the wrong people on some of these other cases.
Hmm.
In that I'm not sure, like once I give you names and dates, then of course you need to contact that county or whatever to verify it, and then, depending on what they have on file for it, they're going to say, we want to do, this is our, I don't know how it works. I'm concerned that you're not going to be able to keep control of it if I
It sounds like you don't trust us, which I understand that from
No,
a
it's
general
not that I don't
perspective,
trust
but-
you. I don't trust other people who are already involved. There are other people already involved in these other cases.
But we're controlling them, right? I understand that maybe in general you wouldn't trust us, but it sounds like you specifically just don't trust what we've said to you, and that concerns me. Because
About the plan, I
Wait
think
a
what he's
second.
talking about.
Not because we've always said that we're going to live up to what we say. We're going to give you accurate information. And
well, some of it is
certainly-
out of your control, though.
Well, it's not. If you've got the FBI here, who can handle this, around the country much more discreetly than Vermont. Like we all said, Vermont was kind of like,
No, I know
we
that
didn't have a
didn't
plan.
do it, right.
We didn't have a plan. We kind of got into it, but now we have a plan, and you've got the FBI here, and it can be worked in stages. If we don't work those stages, we're delaying what's going to have to eventually take place. And so it concerns me that you don't trust us.
No, it's not you specifically I don't trust. It's my ultimate agenda. I know that you're not completely in control of. So,
Well,
I want-
we're in a lot more control than you think, is what I'm sensing. But,
we're in a lot more control than I am, but that's not saying much.
well, I guess of all the people in this room, right? Is it on these other cases that need to get cleared up? We're the people who are going to be in most control. We're going to be in more control. I don't think you wanted me to call the local state county attorney in New York. If you want that, I'll do it.
No, I think we can keep that case federal.
Okay. And I think we can probably keep these other cases federal.
I don't know.
That.
That's what I'm worried about.
Well, you
I
could
don't
give me
know.
some-
I might not.
you
even
could
be
ask me
talking-
some
That's why I
questions.
say I might not be.
Ask me some questions.
Can I jump in on this?
Sure.
Washington's a good example, and that was actually something we wanted to talk to you about today. Is you had given us permission for the boat. Remember
Right.
that was when I wasn't here. It was a while back. And one of the things that we got your permission to take the boat, but we want to look in the boat. We want to go look in the stuff in the boat. There's
Yeah.
some things that we want to do in the boat. In order for us to do that, we want to get legally, one of the things that we can do is we can get a search warrant to do that. Right now, we don't have.
We don't want to get a search warrant, because if we go get a search warrant, then we bring in the local authorities, perhaps. But if you want to give us consent,
if we have to do it, if we have to get a search warrant on the local side, Because right now we don't have a federal nexus. We would have to bring in the locals in order to get the locals in Washington to do that. We don't have as much control, obviously, it's the local system over that as we would if it's the federal system. So one of the things that we wanted to talk with you about today was related to the boat is, and I'm not asking you for names, dates, anything like that, but similar to what we did with the Curriers, if we can talk about what happened or maybe where it happened that could give us that federal nexus.
Well, that's why I'm concerned, because it all happened like right in Washington.
Okay,
Yeah,
but there's national parks there, there's
There's
you know,
use of a
all of-
telephone, there's crossing state lines, there's people from different states. There's a million ways to get federal jurisdiction.
using somebody's
I'm
car.
personally not that concerned about federal jurisdiction, but obviously we would need details to know that.
You're making this sound a lot easier than when we were talking about the Curriers.
No, it's some of the same stuff.
What do you mean? What do you mean? I mean, the Curriers is clearly federal jurisdiction.
Right. No. Well,
And,
that's what I thought at the time, but you kept never.
The Curriers?
No biggie.
Okay. Well, it's
All
clearly
water under
federal.
the bridge. So.
Clearly federal jurisdiction. That doesn't mean that Vermont, the way we dealt with it, doesn't mean. I mean, we've had to bend over backwards and go crazy with Vermont because of the way we handle that, and we've gotten.
Well, I know
their
because there's
assurances.
a lot of other people involved.
Yeah, but we've gotten their assurances now, but those are going to run out, and I'm quite frankly,
There's nothing they can do to me.
well, they can charge you,
Yeah.
and that's what you don't want.
Well, they're gonna have to wait their turn, aren't they?
But that's what you don't want, right?
Of course, I don't want that. I don't want to go to freaking Vermont.
Well, but anyway, the federal jurisdiction stuff can be handled. Obviously, we'll need some details, but if you've got a concern over federal jurisdiction, that's not a real concern of mine.
Well, I am concerned about that as far as the Washington stuff.
I would need a few more details, but I'm not that concerned about it.
Well, I know, but from what Jolene is saying, there's already
Did you-
concerns for search warrants.
No, the reason that she wants to get your consent is so that we don't get a warrant. We don't know.
Well, I already gave you, search the boat. I mean, I already gave you
Okay.
consent to seize
Fine.
it. I didn't even know it was still mine, honestly.
I don't know if it is either, but
I couldn't remember if I signed it over to him or not. So,
well, you know we're going to do everything in a cautious approach, right? Regardless of who
Right.
the owner is, we're going to come in here and we're going to ask you about it. So, but if you use a cell phone, if you use a credit card, if you did any, there's lots and lots of ways to have federal jurisdiction.
yeah, I mean, like I say, it got a lot more complicated in the last few years. Back then, I didn't think I had a cell phone. I don't know.
But if it's jurisdiction that you're concerned about on some of this stuff, and I know that you don't want to talk about names, dates, and all that kind of stuff, I think something to think about. We can talk about some of those things without getting into names and dates right now to see if we can kind of alleviate the concern about federal jurisdiction. By just some of the simple examples that we just threw out, phones, the land that it happened on, did you use their car? I mean, we can talk about that without getting into specifics of the case.
No, there wasn't any of that.
National parks.
I mean, I used their. There were a couple times that I moved, cars and stuff of theirs, but it's not like I kidnapped them or something.
Were they in the cars when you
No.
moved them? Okay.
Did you do that to cover up, to hide the crimes?
It's just to throw it off for a while. I mean,
Okay.
And did you got any firearms?
I never shot any guns. I
You
had
used the
guns
gun.
with me.
To threaten with guns?
No, not always. No.
Brandished. I mean, at least did they know you had it?
No.
Use of any telephones, any interstate highways, any.
Well, technically, there's no witnesses, so I guess I could tell you I used a machine gun.
But the truth is important.
We have to.
Well, the truth is,
corroborate everything.
until I never felt the need to have a gun out until I started, taking people, because that was the only
I thought you took.
circumstance I thought I would have to actually use it.
I thought there were 2 bodies in Washington that you took people.
Right, but I mean, feel I needed a gun. But I had a gun, and I'm just saying I didn't have it. I just changed the way I...
You didn't have to force them to get on the boat, or they...
No, I'm just saying I had it. I mean, I used a knife mostly as a threat. I had a gun. I just never felt the need. I would have used it, I guess, if things had got out of control.
So you had a gun.
I just never. It wasn't the kind of situation where the person I felt I wasn't outnumbered, and I definitely felt like a knife was plenty to.
You were not outnumbered,
right?
but there were two people.
Well,
two different times.
Right.
Okay, so you weren't outnumbered any
right
individual time. And were there, if they were prostitutes or someone that you used the phone or an internet to connect with, someone you would have called?
No, I didn't use internet back then at all. Really.
About a phone, landline, or
No.
cell phone?
No.
You said you did move their cars?
Yeah.
A car that belonged to at least one of
Right.
them. And the purpose, we went through that fast. The purpose of moving the car, they weren't in the car, but it was to do what?
Just to throw it off.
Distance it or whatever, just to,
Right.
okay.
Moved it away from a scene or something.
Right.
Get it farther away.
Okay. These are the kind of things, though, that as these cases come up and as we talk more about them, if it's helpful, I think it's probably helpful for you to, the stuff in Washington you just talked about without giving us anything, but we can identify the things that help make it federal and make it
I
have a
just don't
federal
think
nexus.
there's anything federal. I mean,
You've
I don't
already
know.
named a
It's
couple
already
things.
sounding like it, yeah.
What, moving
Having
cars?
a gun, moving cars to
Mm-hmm.
cover up is part of that crime.
I'm just saying that seems kind of. It's certainly not every crime that happens in one. I've never heard. I don't know. I don't know a lot about this, but I do read, and I'm saying that cases I've read about, it doesn't automatically become. It rarely becomes federal just because there's a gun involved. I mean, it usually takes a lot more than that.
It may not be charged federal, but it could go federal. I mean, think about the Curriers.
I know you have the authority if you want to go after a case. And if the
That's what we're
locals don't put up resistance, then they let you go after it, kind of thing, right?
Well, if we bring the case, if we go, and
You
say,
bring all the information.
That's right.
yeah, they don't have anything
How are they
without
gonna do
us,
Right.
without you, and then without us, and so we bring
Right.
the case. It's just you don't. The FBI doesn't go around to local authorities and say, hey, we got all this great information. Why don't you take over now? Have you ever seen that on TV? Hey, we're
No, I wouldn't
the
expect
local
that's the
county
way it
sheriff. We're in
works.
charge here.
I'm not saying I suspect that. I just wasn't sure how much. Because some of this stuff is going to be in. It's not like they're podunk police departments. They're, so it's.
But they're not the FBI.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I could see where the local DA or whoever might want to get a piece of me, kind of thing. I don't know.
Well, that's why we get their assurance up front. We don't give them enough specifics. We say we've got somebody who can give information about the disappearance of this person. We give them enough that we can say, this is the person who disappeared, and we give someone who can give information about that, but we need your assurances that here's what's going to happen.
Well, I also have concerns about, like with Washington, it might be better if I talk to the locals about this stuff.
Well, we can arrange that too.
Right. I know that. I'm just saying that's what I'm trying to figure out right now and I know, it's tied directly to other stuff that's going on now as well, so it's really hard for me to get a straight answer on any of this stuff. I'm just, in my own mind, wondering, in the long run, if it ends up going on the long run, if it wouldn't be better for me to deal with the locals in Washington. That's all.
Well, you can hold on. I mean, we can decide that later, right?
Right.
I mean, if we knew the names of people in Washington, we can decide later whether to bring the local authorities in on that or not.
Yeah, well,
Or if we knew the name of the person in New York, we could decide later whether to bring the local prosecutors in on that or not. But meantime, we could do
I'm worried about New York.
Well, if you're not worried about New York, if you can give us the name in New York.
No, I'm saying that you already have information on New York. You already know stuff happened there. So.
Yeah, I just meant the name of the person so that we can actually identify specifically enough to say we're not going down the wrong trail and we're not wasting people's time.
What in New York, in your mind, makes it a federal case that you did?
Well, kidnapping.
Mm-hmm. From one place
I mean,
to
that's
another.
my understanding. If you
there's
take
no-
someone and put them
absolutely.
in a car or a boat or whatever and move them from point A to point B, that's kidnapping. Right?
Yes. There's federal jurisdiction. But I mean, if we had the name, it could save us and everybody we have to.
I know. I'm going to give you the name. I'm just saying I don't have the stuff I want for it yet.
But that's what I don't get. We're all working on the same end here. There's nothing I can turn around and give you other than to move quickly, which is what I've been doing. Except for this Plan A and Plan B, which is 33 days old. All right. Now, I'm not supposed to give you a pen, but we'll pretend. And just, I need something to write on this Plan A and Plan B so that when we meet
I
next
don't
time.
even know what is that. What is that like?
This was like. Is there something called that? That's Plan C, I think. We will leave that off.
Okay.
This was the plan we thought we were on, which was moving this thing forward.
Right.
Plan B was the plan that we're going to be.
No,
a year from now.
Russo's plan was you keep giving us information and we keep you out of the media. Look, as much as I appreciate being kept out of the media as much as possible, that's not really much of a trade-off for me because I don't even have anything happening with me for the next several months. You know that.
Okay.
I don't get any straight answers on anything.
Well, I'm going to give you straight answers about what I can talk to you about.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. That's the problem.
So we've still got a bunch of other crimes that ultimately have to be resolved before.
No, they don't. That's my point. They don't have to be resolved.
No,
If
I
I,
thought you
don't
said
get
that
what I
they were.
want, then they won't be resolved. The problem is if I start talking now and you get your information and then I stop getting what I want and I'm left to rot somewhere,
Do you think like
you really think I'm going to be able to say, oh, wait, I forgot to tell you this one really... I don't have anything to bargain with at that point.
Well, let me
I
give
don't
you-
I don't have enough.
two things?
You already have your names. You already have suspicions. I'm already locked up forever. So you have no incentive to do anything for me.
Two things in response to that. One is, if you've only given us 10 or 15%, you can give us, another percent, another body, and we know there's a lot more to give. So you're not putting yourself in this position of playing all your cards. That's one. The second is, don't you think things would move a lot more quickly on other crimes if we actually knew the full extent? I mean, I think if
How can they move more quickly when
Because we
they're
can-
not moving quickly on what I have right now? So
That's a different matter.
it's not different. It's the same to me.
You gotta.
I'm still the one who's in solitary 23 hours a day. So
You can be charged with the Currier's case as an example.
I know that.
Okay.
But it's not like they're going to extradite me anytime soon.
Well, you could be charged state or federal.
What's the point? They still have to extradite me. I'm just saying I'm not going anywhere.
No, you could be
anytime
charged
soon.
here with that too.
Really?
Yeah. You left here and committed a federal crime in another jurisdiction. There's something called the Travel Act when you travel from one place to another to commit a
Right.
crime.
I just fail to see what incentive you have to charge me with that.
Well, right now, as long as we're communicating, I don't think, but you're just saying, you're trying to focus it all on one thing that we can't talk about, and we're talking about all these other crimes is what we're here about.
No, I'm not. I'm not trying to focus it all on the one thing.
Okay.
I'm just saying all these other things, all the other crimes I've committed, they're still directly related to my bottom line, even if they're not related to anybody else's.
No, they are. They are. The bottom line is you wanted to move quickly. You wanted to get a death penalty sentence.
Did you find out where, how that works? When was the last federal death penalty case?
I don't.
Has there even been one?
Yeah.
You said you were going to find out like what the.
Well, and
because I don't have access to any of this information.
Well, we kind of got I think we kind of got sidetracked on a bunch of other issues. Was that right before the courtroom?
Right. No, I know. Yeah, there's been a few distractions, but
who created those? Let's take a look around the room.
Look, I already said I'm not to be trusted, so you can't really blame me, all right? It's my fault, but you already knew anything that was going to happen.
Okay,
This is going to be my fault. It's not like I'm going to get away with anything at this point.
we were just going around seeing why it was taking so long and where we got derailed. And
yeah, but this is just us shooting the breeze about federal death row facilities and recent cases. It doesn't have to have anything to do with anything else. And like I say, if I had internet access, I'd look it up myself.
Gotcha.
Anyway.
I was just pointing out where I think we got sidetracked from that issue a while back, but. So what specific things are you willing to give us?
Today?
To move the ball forward. Yeah, today.
Nothing. I never said I was going to give you anything today. Jeff here hijacked me after I was sitting in a freaking holding cell for like 2 hours or whatever.
No one ever said it. No one ever said you were going to.
Right, least of all me.
I'm just asking in the name of moving things forward.
Believe me, I'm all about moving things forward. I just don't really feel like they are. So. Like I say, I was just blindsided very recently with some information, and I have not got anything back on it. And I just have a lot of frustrations right now that don't have anything to do with you, but they have a lot to do with me. So I've got to figure out, what we do about them.
We,
yes.
Well,
we all have to be involved, but
just look, I'm not asking you about anything but what we're talking about in this room. I'm also asking you not to I'm asking you to deal with us on that.
yeah. So whip out the paperwork. Let's go.
I got my paper right here.
That's not. That's not the what I'm talking about.
Israel Keys. I'm looking for a way that I can move forward and I can get these agents and officers to be able to move forward.
You have plenty of. If you want busy work, you've got plenty of.
No, not busy work. I want real work that is going to keep us busy, but it's busy now instead of busy a year from now.
No. If I give you all the information, then
Not
you
all.
won't have anything.
What would you
do?
Not all. Don't give me everything. I've been pretty reasonable about saying don't give me everything. Hold back, but give me something that's of use. I mean, it's fun to sit here and chat, right? But
it's not really that fun.
Well, now you're insulting us.
Not really. I'm just saying it's not really. It's fun if we get stuff accomplished. It's kind of.
Well, I guess that's what I meant. It was being sarcastic.
If I had it my way, I would keep all my little stories to myself. But I already know that nothing's going to happen the way I want it to if I do that. That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I already know that there's already too much information out. Things are going to be the way they are. That's fine, but it's only fine if I work everything to my advantage as much as possible at this point. But if I had it my way, we wouldn't be talking again.
Well, but I thought earlier you said that we were going to be talking. It was just about when. It was just
Well, we're going to be talking because I'm not a patient person and I expect these things to move more quickly than they have been. I'm just saying if I was a patient person, I would prefer to keep everything to myself.
But you still do you see that what coming out, what being out there, reality and actuality are better than innuendo and people's imagination, or?
No, not in my case.
Why is that?
Well, that's another reason I'm willing to keep talking, because I expect you, anyone investigating these cases, to keep the details and the interviews that we've done confidential and certainly out of the media. I mean, that's kind of the premise I'm working on is, I'll give you all the details, and a lot of them, you're, at least on the more recent stuff, you find out for yourself, whatever, I'll give them to you, but that's with the understanding that I don't want it to become public knowledge. That's fine, I'm charged with murders, whatever. So the rest of the stuff I'd rather not come out.
So what should we do to get to that point?
I'm gonna set up a meeting, I guess. Apparently I'll have to threaten people to my limited capacity.
Well, we don't like the idea of threats, and I don't want to get involved in that. But if you want us to make a request,
You'd be surprised how hard it is to fire a free lawyer.
Well, I'm not involved in that. But if you want me to request, a meeting, I think I'm not going to talk to you unless everybody's here about anything else, unless everybody's in agreement on that.
Right. I know. If I had it completely my way, then we wouldn't have to go through this whole spiel at all every time. I'm already convinced that from what's transpired over the last few months, that the only way I'm probably going to get what I want is by working with you and with whoever is investigating me. And everything else that's going on has just become a distraction and one, not a roadblock, but like one pothole after another. And it doesn't seem to matter what I say. On the other hand, like I say, it's more complicated than I thought to resolve those issues. So,
Well, I'll be here this week, and then I'm gone for a few weeks.
all right.
These guys will be around, but if you're looking to talk to me about something, I won't be around for a few weeks.
There will be somebody here.
There'll be
Russo?
someone here. Mhm.
Somebody who can make decisions or whatever, or are you the only one who can make decisions?
Well, they can talk to me, but I think I'm just telling you I'll be here this week if there's something you want to talk to me about this week.
Right. I'm just
Related to
saying
other crimes.
if it doesn't happen until early next week or something, then
Sure.
is that still doable, or does it have to be? I'm just saying, if you're not here, you said you're not here next week.
If there's something significant, then they can get a hold of me, yeah.
All right.
Do you want to come to that, or you want to wait?
I don't think we can hurt anything.
You want some lunch?
No, I'm fine.
You want a candy bar? I might have one.
Yeah.
Let's take
Let's
I
take a
gotta
break
take the head anyway.
Finish your bagel. Too much of a sugar rush off the...
Yeah.
Do you get you can get commissary in seg, can't you?
Yeah.
Do they have those?
No, not those.
Okay. So that's a big deal still.
Yeah.
All right, I brought in, you said you would give us consent to search the boat?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. And then
Assuming it's still mine.
I don't know if it's yours or not, but
one thing that I wanted to clear up, you mentioned when we were talking about Federal Nexus that you moved a car. Was that in one or in both? Again, without details, I'm not asking you obviously where or anything like that.
That was in one.
In one? All right. This is the right boat we're talking about, right? The Bayliner, 82 Bayliner?
Yep.
Actually, Jeff, if you want to jump into that and I can finish filling this out.
Why this is, I don't think, going to be a big deal to you. We talked a little bit a while ago about the North Folk River and Eagle River, and you said that you had either just stuck something in the weeds or something there, some Drano and a shovel and some...
Yeah.
Would you be able to point out on that?
It's not on this picture, but yeah, I could find it.
Okay. It's out of that picture, is it?
Yeah.
Which
it's up this way a little bit.
Okay.
That's where it was.
You said by the outhouse, I thought, because that's where the bathrooms are.
No, that's where I was staked out.
Oh, I see. Okay, you were staked out here.
Yeah.
So is
the
it
disposal site was further up the road?
Further up Eagle River Road?
Yeah.
Okay, and how far?
this goes back to
Yeah,
the
this
road,
is the
right?
entrance into
Right.
How far past the entrance?
Less than a quarter mile, I think.
How far into the woods?
Just right off the road.
On this side of the road, on the
Same
right-hand side?
of it.
Yeah.
You think it's still there? You think maybe it was found by cleanup crews, or
No, it's probably still there.
is it above ground? Is it
Yeah.
buried?
I think, yeah, it's above ground.
So this-
Like some garbage bags and a shovel.
So this tree line continues. Is it in that tree? Right in that tree line?
Yeah, it's on. There's a drainage ditch alongside the road.
Uh-huh.
There's a small out-of-service road that branches off where they pushed up a big berm
Okay.
to block entrance, and the stuff is stashed in the trees right next to that berm.
Okay. Is it just in a bag, or?
I think the Drano, was in some of those big garbage bags, and then there was a shovel too.
Okay.
Stashed.
All right. If I can't find it just by looking, would you mind showing it to me on map next time?
Yeah, if you, I can show you now if you have a Google map, but if
We can
not,
do it
it's
next
not
time.
that far.
Yeah. Do you think I'm going to be able to find it based on what you just told me?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, if you just follow, you drive past that gated entrance,
Mm-hmm.
you keep watching the right-hand side of the road, there's going to be access to a guy's cabin or something, like a chained private property access, and then the first road that branches off, it's not even really a road, it's like an old overgrown path that they burned up. The first one of those you see right after that chained access is going to be that ditch where I had in mind to use.
Okay.
I imagine the stuff is still there.
I was thinking I had to write more on here than I do. This just says you've been asked by us complete search of your Bayliner boat's located in Washington right now. Been advised of your right. You can refuse this consent. You give this consent voluntarily. Take any items which are determined related to their investigation.
Yeah.
Just sign right there. You want a copy of this? Okay. Anything else on that, Jeff? On this?
I don't think so.
No. Any questions for us? Or questions about this?
No.
Okay.
Any specific request on us coming over again, or do you care?
What's next in your mind for us moving this forward?
Group meeting, I guess.
Is that something you're going to request?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I'm.
We're going to get that done before the end of the week.
I don't know. Some of the stuff isn't coming in until Friday, so. But I've got a list started, and then there's of course the other issues that I just found out about yesterday. So.
Okay. Well, if you want to meet on other issues, I'm available to do that.
Up until Friday, right? All right.
Okay. Want us to keep that till next time?
Sure.
Give us just a second to get people rounded up here, and then we'll.
All right.